Students, welcome to Excel Tuition, and this is the part 2 of the lesson, our environment. This is the diagram of trophic levels. In this diagram, the producers come first. Producers, then primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. The green plants in a terrestrial ecosystem capture about 1% of the energy of the sunlight that fall on their leaves and convert it into a food chain. When green plants are eaten by primary consumers, a great deal of energy is lost as heat to the environment. Some amount goes into digestion and in doing work, and the rest goes towards growth and reproduction. An average of 10% of the food eaten is turned into its own body and made available for the next level of the consumers. Therefore, 10% can be taken as the average value for the amount of the organic matter that is present at each step and reaches the next level of the consumers. Now let us go through some question answer. What do you mean by the biodegradable substances? Substances which can be broken down by bacteria or saprophytes are called biodegradable substances. Name any two biodegradable substances: agricultural waste and paper. What do you mean by the non-biodegradable substances? Substances which are not broken down by bacteria or saprophytes are called non-degradable substances. Name any two non-biodegradable substances: plastic, insecticides. Name any two agents responsible for biodegradation: bacteria, fungi, and other saprophytes. Why do the same enzyme not break down everything we eat? Enzymes have a specific action. They break down a particular substances. Hence, a single enzyme cannot break down different substances present in the food that we eat. Why are the substances like metals, plastics, and glass are called non-biodegradable substances? Metals, plastic, and glass are called non-biodegradable substances because they are not broken down by the bacteria or saprophytes, therefore persist for a long time in the environment. Why do things made from metal, plastic, and glass persist for a long time in the environment? Metal, plastic, and glass persist for a long time in the environment because they are not broken down by the bacteria or saprophytes. They are non-biodegradable. Paper cups have replaced plastic cups on trains. Why? Plastic is non-degradable substances which persist in nature for a long time. However, paper is biodegradable. Hence, paper cups have replaced plastic cups on trains. What is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a unit comprising of living organisms and non-living components interacting with each other. What do we mean by biotic components of an ecosystem? Biotic components consist of all living organisms of an ecosystem. Name any two biotic components of an ecosystem: plants and animals. Name any two abiotic components of an ecosystem: climate, water, soil, mineral, and temperature. Give any two examples of artificial ecosystem: a garden and an aquarium. Give any two examples of natural ecosystem: a lake and a forest. What are producers? Producers are the organisms that produce their own food from simple inorganic substances by the process of photosynthesis. Next is green plants are producers. Why? Green plants are producers because they prepare sugar and starch from a simple inorganic substances by the process of photosynthesis using the radiant energy of the sun in the presence of chlorophyll. The first level where energy enters a food chain is the producers. Why? It is because in a food chain, it is only the producer that prepare food using the sun's energy and make it available for the subsequent level of a food chain. In all food chains, producers form the first trophic level. Why? It is because in a food chain, it is only the producer who prepare food using the sun's energy and make it available for the subsequent level of the food chain. What do you mean by consumers? Consumers are the organisms which consume food produced either directly from the producer or indirectly by feeding on the other consumer. How do herbivores differ from carnivores? Herbivores feed on producers or plants while carnivores use other animals as their food. How do omnivores differ from carnivores? Omnivores use plant as well as animals as their food while carnivores use only other animals as their food. What do you mean by decomposers? Decomposers are the organisms that break down the dead remains and waste products of organisms. How do the decomposers enrich the fertility of the soil? Decomposers break down complex organic substances from the remains of the animals and plants into simple inorganic substances that go into the soil and are again used by plants. Decomposers are scavengers. Why? Decomposers break down complex organic substances from the dead remains and waste products of organisms into simple inorganic substances which go into the soil. Thus, they clear the dead remains and waste products, which is the function of scavengers. Next is, what is the food chain? Give an example. The food chain is a sequence of organisms taking part at various biotic levels. Example, grass eaten by grasshopper. Then grasshopper is eaten by the frog and frog is consumed by snake and snake by kite. Next, what is trophic level? Trophic level is a step or a level of the food chain. Arrange the following organisms so as to make a food chain. Organisms given are insect, snake, plant, hawks and frog. So first plants will come. Plants, then insects, then frogs, then snakes and the last hawks. B. Snakes, plants, hawks and rats. Here also plants will come first. Plants, rats, snakes and hawks. Next question is, it is through producer that the sun's energy enter the food chain. Why? It is because it is the producer that picks up solar energy during the process of photosynthesis and make it available for subsequent trophic level that are heterotrophs or consumers. The food chain is a path of a flow of energy justified. Answer, autotrophs or the producer convert solar energy into chemical energy which is utilized by the herbivores, which are the primary consumers of the second trophic level. From herbivores, it passes on to carnivores of the subsequent trophic level of the food chain. Organisms at the third or the fourth trophic level get very little usable energy. Why? Answer, green plants capture only 1% of the energy of the sunlight that fall on their leaves and convert it into food energy. The green plants are eaten by the animals. Only 10% of the food eaten is used to develop its body and is available as a food to the next level of the consumers. Thus, only 10% of the energy is transferred from one trophic level to the another. Therefore, the energy available to the organisms of the third or the fourth level is very little. Why is the energy transferred from one trophic level to the next level of consumers only about 10%? A considerable amount of energy is lost as heat to the environment. Some amount is used up for different life processes such as digestion, reproduction and for doing work. Thus, an average of only 10% is available for the next trophic level. Food chain generally consists of 3 to 4 steps. Why? Only about 10% of energy is transferred from one trophic level to the next. The useful energy left after 3 or 4 steps is very little and cannot support the life process. The flow of energy in a food chain is unidirectional. Why? Answer, the producers capture the energy of the sun. No fraction of this energy is reverted back to the sun. About 10% of it is passed into the primary consumers. The same fraction is transferred from the organisms of one trophic level to the other, but the energy that is transferred to the higher level is never available to the lower level. Therefore, the flow of energy is unidirectional. What is a food web? A food web is a network of food chain with cross linkages in which an organism may be at different levels in different food chain. Next question is, what is biological magnification? Biological magnification is a process by which non-biodegradable harmful substances like pesticides or heavy metals enter the food chain and their concentration increases in the individual of the higher trophic levels. Why should the use of pesticide in excess is avoided? Answer is, the pesticide used for the crops are washed away into the soil and water bodies from where they are absorbed by plants and aquatic life and enter the food chain. Since they are non-biodegradable, their concentration increases at each trophic level. Therefore, excess use of pesticide should be avoided. Our food, meat, vegetable and so on contain varying amount of pesticide residues. Why? Answer, excess pesticide used are washed out and go into the soil and water bodies from where they are absorbed by the plants and enter our food chain. State any two uses of chlorofluorocarbons. Chlorofluorocarbons are used as refrigerants and in fire extinguishers. How is ozone formed at a higher level of the atmosphere? At higher levels of the atmosphere, the oxygen molecule O2 is split up into oxygen atoms O by the energy of the ultraviolet radiation. These atoms of oxygen combine with molecular oxygen to form a triatomic molecule of ozone. Ozone, though deadly poisonous, is extremely important for the living world. Why? Ozone is deadly poisonous, but the envelope of ozone performs an extremely important function. It absorbs the harmful ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun. These radiations damage the life on the earth. Thus, though ozone is poisonous, it protects life on the earth from the damages caused by ultraviolet radiations. The ozone layer surrounding the earth is extremely important for the life on the earth. Why? The ozone layer absorbs ultraviolet radiation of the sun which are harmful to the living organisms on the earth. Now let us solve some short answer type questions. Information is given and you have to answer the questions on the basis of the given information. A garden is an ecosystem. Question is, what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a unit comprising of living organism and non-living components interacting with each other. What are the biotic components of such an ecosystem which are autotrophs? Grass flowering plants, fruit bearing and ornamental plants are the biotic components of such an ecosystem which are autotrophs. Our food grains and vegetables contain varying amount of chemical pesticides. What are pesticides? Pesticides are the non-biodegradable chemicals used to protect the crops from diseases and pests. How do pesticides come into our food grains and vegetables? The pesticides used for the crops are washed into the soil and water bodies from where they are absorbed by the plants such as vegetables and food crops. Next question is, in North India, disposable cups made of clay instead of plastic cups are used to serve tea at railway stations. Why are the clay cups are used in place of plastic cups? It is because plastic is a non-biodegradable substance whereas clay is biodegradable. State any 2 advantages of using cup made of clay. First, they provide employment to the local artisans, namely potters. The material used is not a non-biodegradable material. C. Why are paper cups also used nowadays in trains and at railway station? This is because paper is a biodegradable substance. Thanks for watching. Do share and subscribe.